I'm so glad to be with you tonight to continue with our studies in the book of Genesis. We will be going over Genesis 20, the 23rd chapter today. But just before we start, I'm doing something a little different today. As someone who's been to Haiti every year on mission trips, it's been a lot of problems over there, as many of you would know. And the latest event is that there was a missionary filled with a bus filled with missionaries who were detained by gang members, and they even went as far as raping them. And I know most Haitian people were very much indignated by what happened, and they do not approve that. And this is something that has not happened in Haiti for a long time, and we don't really want that to start. And I'm sure this will stop in the name of our Lord Jesus. Okay, this is why I want to start from the second screen today, just to include Haiti, so that all Haitians who are listening to this study, you can learn by what happened among the Israelites in the past. That's exactly what is happening right now in Haiti. And once you can understand that there are certain things that God will not allow, and it comes with a lot of consequences. And beyond the consequences, there is one solution. And I'm going to give you the solution also, because it's all there in the Bible. And the same thing that is happening in Haiti right now, that's why some people think of Haiti as one of the tribes of Israel. Some people said Haiti is Israel in punishment. But we're going to run some parallel here as we're going through the lesson, and you can understand why some people are talking like this. Okay, first, I want to begin by highlighting certain problems and certain acts or certain things that God totally abhor. God totally is against certain things. And I'm going to name 3 of them, and I'm going to give you some verses for you to read and understand that there are certain things that you're not going to get away with. Certain things that you do, whether you are among God's people, whether you are among the pagans. So this means whether you are in the churches, whether you are among the gang members, certain things God will not leave, God will not let it go unpunished. So 3 things that God really hates. The first is serving other gods. And I'm going to give you a verse. You can read it for yourself, because I'm not making these up. These are there for you. And that's why I'm alluding to Haiti, so you can see what's going on right now. Not only there is a problem, and the problem comes with consequences as a result of certain decisions and choices, very bad choices. And there is also a way that it can be remedied, where there is a remedy. So let's start with serving other gods. In Jeremiah 7, verse 18, God had Jeremiah to go to the people to tell them that they are provoking him by serving what they call the Queen of Heaven. We don't have time to go into the study of the Queen of Heaven right now, but I'm sure you can find it in some of my videos on my channel in YouTube, or you can always send me questions, and I'll be glad to help you along. So here in Jeremiah 7, chapter 7, verse 18, God spoke to the people through Jeremiah and said, "You are provoking me." You provoke God whenever you go and serve other gods, because Jeremiah was telling the people, he was the oracle of God. God was saying that, "I'm looking at the father who is preparing the fire, and the children are gathering woods, and the mother is preparing cakes to bake to the Queen of Heavens." And God is infuriated by that. So here we can see here that one thing that God will not leave unpunished is when you turn your back on God, especially if you are among the elect, among the chosen people, because there is such things as an elect people. It's all over the Bible. So here, the second thing that God really abhors, the second thing is rebellion. The first rebellion started in heaven with the devil, which we call Satan. Satan is another word for adversary. Some people say Satanas, like in Spanish. Some people, they said, you see the word adversary in the Bible. So we know that God hates rebellion. And again, God sent the people to Jeremiah to admonish them, to tell them, look, you're going to have to stop with calling on other gods. And guess what the people said? You can go to Jeremiah, the 44th chapter 44, verses 14 through 20. The people said, "We are not listening to you, Jeremiah. We don't care about what you said. We're going to keep serving the Queen of Heaven." Because guess what? When we stop serving the Queen of Heaven, things are going wrong for us. And of course, this is one of the tricks of the enemy. When you're serving God, he's going to pile up all kind of obstacles along the way. But of course, when you're serving him, although he's going to finish you off, although he's going to devour you with your entire family, but he's going to, of course, come in a disguise. He can disguise himself as an angel of light. So once you fall into it, that's it, you finish. So here we see that the people categorically told Jeremiah, "We don't care about you and your God. Whatever he said, we're going to serve the Queen of Heaven." And we see a lot of that in Haiti. So of course, God will not let you get away with that. Now the third thing that God will not definitely let you get away with is injustice. Injustice, and we see a lot of that in Haiti nowadays. And you can also read the book of Amos. Amos was a prophet of justice, and he was really speaking against that. And God is really angry. You don't want to make God angry. Read Psalm 118, where the psalmist was talking about his distress, and he called upon God, and God got angry. He thundered in the heavens. Smoke was coming out of his nostrils, and he came down to deliver him, because God is a God of compassion. He has a lot of patience, but at the same time, the Bible describes God as a devouring fire. So God is nothing to play with. So as far as injustice, you can read, I'm going to give you the verses, and you can read, in fact, you can read the entire chapter after that. That's Exodus. Exodus 20, the 22nd chapter, starting from the 22nd verse through the 28th verse, and also Exodus, the 23rd chapter, verse 11. What was happening here, of course, you know, Exodus was part of the 5 books of the law of God to Moses, which most people call the Pentateuch. So here, God was putting certain things in motion, certain principle. You know, I said that so many times. It's like, just like as the law of gravity. You cannot decide that I'm going up there on top of that building, I'm going to jump down and kill myself. And right after you jumped up, you jumped off and you change your mind. It's too late. Gravity took over. It's the law, certain law God put in nature. It's the same thing spiritually. Certain things you do, certain things a certain decision you take, they come with consequences. So here we see that God was telling the people that you have to, especially for the riches, he said, if you have a field, when you go and harvest the field, whatever fell in at the corners of the fields, they don't belong to you, because they belong to those, to the poor. They will come and glean through it so that they can eat. So you don't go and take whatever and harvest everything, and you pick up everything, all the corners, and you don't leave anything. He said whatever the poor leaves now, if they feel now, they ate and they have enough. Whatever is left belongs to the animals. So God didn't want any of his creations to go hungry. But yet, the people, what they were doing, through those verses that I was telling you, if someone would come and say, look man, I don't have a way to eat today, I'm going to give you my coat, and you lend me some money, and when I bring back the money, you give me my coat back. But guess what God said? God said, you are not only, that person is your brother, you're not supposed to lend him the money with interest, because he's your brother. He said, if for any reason he doesn't have the money by nightfall, because it may be cold at night, you're going to give him his jacket, his coat back, and for him to sleep in, because he doesn't have anything to sleep in. You can take it back in the morning once he brings you the money. But guess what these people were doing? Not only they wouldn't give the coat back, they would take them and put them on their mattresses at home, so they can feel even more comfortable, so they could have more cushion. So of course that infuriated God, and God had all those prophets talking against it. So here, as the final blow, God spoke through Ezekiel. You can read it in Ezekiel 34. You can read the entire chapter, but those verses that I picked they were from the 16th through the 28th verse. So what I'm saying here, God was first talking to the shepherd, in other words, the pastors. He was calling them greedy pastors. As long as you feel your belly is like someone who's about to have a baby. He said you left all the sheep to destructions, like they being eaten by animals. And you guys are having it nice. You don't care about the sheep. He said, I'm gonna deal with you. Just like you see here, things that are happening in Haiti, where a lot of people are hungry. They took off running. Some of them tried to reach Chile, Brazil, and a lot of them got devoured by wild pigs. A lot of them fall down in precipices. Some of them fall down in holes, got bitten by snakes, they dying by the thousand. And some of the guys there, and like I said, it starts with the pastors, because they hire. People are quick to blame the authorities of the land. But guess what? In the Bible, spiritually, a pastor is supposed to be higher than the ones in charge. If you don't believe me, ask Samuel, ask Saul. When Saul was waiting for Samuel to do the sacrifice, to offer the sacrifice before he goes to war, well, Samuel took too long. And Saul, the king, decided, well, I'm going to offer the sacrifice. Guess what happened? Samuel was very angry. God was angry. In fact, that was one of the reasons why he lost his throne, because he would not obey the Lord. That's why Samuel told him, obedience is better than sacrifice. In fact, rebellion is witchcraft. Here we see that again. When you rebel to what God tells you, it's just as good as witchcraft. So here we can see that God is very much against injustice. And Ezekiel went on, not only he was talking against those pastors, he called them shepherd. I'm sorry, whoever is supposed to be in charge of the sheep, because the sheep is a very stupid animals. If they don't have a shepherd, they die. In fact, if you can see here, this picture is showing you a lot of sheep who are there without a shepherd. They're just falling off the cliff. If they're being attacked by the wolves, guess what? The shepherd is right behind them, but they're not going to scream. They're not going to say anything. They're going to be devoured alive, but they're not going to even cry. Try that with a pig. Try that with a goat. And see if the whole neighborhood, the whole community is going to hear about it. So that's why Jesus referred to us as sheep among wolves. Without Jesus, without him, we exposed to destruction. So here, just before we go to the first screen, Ezekiel was delivering that message from God, and he said, look, I have problems also among the sheep, because there are certain sheep they are counted as goats. Just like, in Matthew 25, Jesus spoke about a separation where he's going to have the goats on his left and the sheep on his right. Well, Ezekiel was making it clear. He said, I'm coming against those goats. And I believe he called them also ram. He said, there are a lot of you. What you do when you eat, after you eat, you not only while you eating, you're going to be hating the other feeble ones with your horns that they may not eat. But when you finish, you're going to trample down everything, all the rest of the food. You're going to foul them with your feet that they may not eat. He said, and after that, when you go and drink from the river, and the other ones that are waiting, those that you've been hating with your horns, you purposely trample the water and make it dirty that they cannot drink. God said, I'm coming for you too. It's not only the shepherd. I'm coming after you also, so-called sheep. In wolf clothing. So now that we have an understanding of what's going on in Haiti, let's go to the first screen so we can understand what's going on here in Genesis, the 23rd chapter. In Genesis, the 23rd chapter, God started with Canaan. That's where Abraham was. God is a repairer. He repairs the breach or the breaches. In other words, whenever Jesus himself said, I didn't come for those who are already saved, who don't need a doctor, but I come for those who are being lost. So understand very well that Canaan was the most, I would say, the place that was most at stake for destruction, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, understand this just before we go into it. Ham had 4 sons. He had Ethiopia, he had Egypt, he had Libya, and he had Canaan. Guess what? Canaan was that place that was cursed. That was one of the sons of Ham. That was the youngest son of Ham. And Canaan, that's also where all those giants gathered themselves to stop the children of Israel to come into Canaan. But guess what? The very place that was supposed to be cursed by their father, Noah, but of course, God's blessing overrun man's curse. Because the Bible tells you God considered a curse for just like about 4 generations. This means whatever curse falls upon you after 4 generations, 400 years, he's going to get rid of it. He's going to repair it. Because that's what God has been doing from the Garden of Eden. Otherwise, we all would be under the devil right now, under the devil's, I would say, a command. Of course, this world here, the entire world right now, is under the influence of the devil, but those who've gathered themselves to Christ, after that he shed his blood on the cross, they're not under the devil. So there is a difference. So here I'm saying that Canaan was supposed to have been left for destruction, but God has targeted Canaan to be the center of the world. A lot of people don't realize that Canaan is Jerusalem. That's where Jerusalem is. That's where Abraham started. Abraham bought land in Canaan even before the Israelites went there. So for those of you who thought that, I know some, I've read in some of those commentaries where some people said, well, Israel were like a nomadic people who just taking over people's land and stuff like that. No. Their forefather, Abraham, bought land in Canaan. And he had land in Canaan way before they came out of Egypt. So here, so we can see that God, as a repairer of breaches, started with Abraham in Canaan, went down to Jesus on the cross, and he's gonna also repair those who are scattered abroad. And now this is the time we live in, the time of those who are scattered abroad. We see that in James, the first chapter of James, I believe in verse 1, you'll see that James said that I'm writing to those scattered abroad, to those who are dispersed, to those in the diaspora, if you want to say it like that. And also, Peter also spoke about that. I believe in 2 Peter, I'm not sure if I wrote that down, but in 2 Peter also, or 1 Peter, it may be on the second screen, where Peter mentioned also the dispersed, those that are scattered abroad. So here, it wasn't something new, because God, when God is really punishing Israel, two of his way to punish Israel was by scattering them. And you can see it through all the Bible, either by scattering them among the pagans, among donations or by sending them into slavery. But the slavery of the past was not as the last slaveries we've heard about, or the slavery of Pharaoh. Those slavery were for destruction. But the slavery we're talking about was just like in the Bible when that woman went to the prophet and said, look, they coming to take my children because I cannot pay my debts. My children, we're going into slavery. That slavery in the past, anyone in your family can come and pay the debt and redeem you, what Jesus has done. Just like in the book of Ruth, that's one of the best example of redemption, where Ruth was redeemed. I forgot the guy's name. Well, it starts with... but anyway, you can see it in the book of Ruth, the story of Naomi, who had his son who died, and her daughter, stepdaughter, Naomi, decided that she's going to follow her back. Exactly, her daughter-in-law, I'm sorry. Okay, so here we can see that this type of slavery, we had what they call Jubilee, which means even if you didn't find someone to redeem you in your first year of slavery, in your second year of slavery, in fact, I believe if that's one of the brothers of your Israelite brother, I think on the 7th year, you should, some of them are supposed to be released, but the stranger, I think you have what they call Jubilee. Jubilee meaning that every 49th year, going on the 50th year, they would sound the trumpet of Jubilee, where they would free off the slave, not just free them, but give them enough that they can start their own business so that they can live. This is the slavery that was being taught, or that we read about in the Bible. It's not the slavery of Egypt, where the slavery of Egypt, it was recognized as a slavery for destruction because Pharaoh wanted the boys killed, first of all. But that's not what we're discussing now. But I'm giving you an example. God didn't send his people into slavery for destruction. In fact, even when they went into slavery for destruction, God will never allow all his children to be destroyed. So that's what, no matter what it is, God is a compassionate God, and God loves his creations. That's why here we teach that as long as you are human, whether you are Chinese, Indian, whether you are Spanish, white, black, we're going to stand with you, and we're going to help you to fight for your soul. So here, we can see here that God was in the business of restoring. God was in the business of restoring Canaan, which was really delivered according to Noah. Because Noah, it's a long story. I cannot go into it right now, but most people don't realize what happened with Noah and Canaan, why Noah did not curse Ham, the father of Canaan, but rather curse Canaan. So this is a controversial subject, and if anybody needs some more information about it, you can always write me on YouTube. Okay, so here, remember I told you that Canaan was the place that was apparently delivered for destruction. That's also where all the giants gathered themselves to stop Israel to come into the promised land, which, by the way, which is Jerusalem right now. And you know right now, if you want to know what's going on, either through prophecy, if you want to check the pulse of the world, you have to see what's going on in Israel, in Jerusalem. And this is Canaan. That's exactly where Abraham is right now in Genesis 23. where he was buying land to bury Sarah. That's where Sarah, the wife of Abraham, died, in Canaan, in Jerusalem, if you want to say it like this, in Israel, actual Israel. So here a lot of people don't realize that we're talking about the same thing here. So this means God started restoring Adam and Eve in the garden. He went to Canaan. He targeted Canaan. In fact, this is where he made his world capital. That's exactly where Jesus is coming back on the Mount of Olives. We all know that when Jesus comes back, that's why he was, in fact, if you look at the Matthew 9:36, before Jesus left, he was looking at Israel as sheep without shepherd. And he told them, that was prophesied in the Old Testament, I believe in the book of Micah, or Zechariah, I believe, where it says, Israel is gonna remain for a long time without a shepherd, without a king. So I'm not really understanding why some people can't grasp certain things. It's all in the Bible. So here, before we go back to our conclusion, to make a final conclusion, I just want you to understand that God is in the business of repairing, and of course to get rid of certain corrupt files. What people would do when you have a computer, you would have to quarantine some of them to keep them away. That's why in Matthew 25, Jesus said, I'm going to have to make a separation here and put the sheep on my right and put the goats, which is a symbol of Satan. That's why you see wherever people are serving Satan, they have a goat symbols. As you may know, a lot of people may not realize when they wanted the Ten Commandments out of certain places, just like in Oklahoma and Arkansas, when they told these people that are protesting, get the Ten Commandments out, they said, what do you want to put there? They brought up something, an effigy of a goat with a child, a little boy on one side and a little girl on the other side. They said, this is what we want. If you guys are going to keep the Ten Commandments, you're going to have to keep ours. So they had to just take down the Ten Commandments because that was too fishy. That was really a bad image. Okay, let's go to the second, to the second screen so that we can draw a conclusion. All these that we talked about has a solution. This problem has a solution. All these bad things, they have a solution. What is the solution? It can be found in Daniel 9, starting from the 2nd verse through the 24th verse. Daniel was in the same situation Haiti is right now. Daniel's people were rebellious. God called them a people with stiff neck. I give you that example sometimes. Like right now, when you drive a car, you have a problem with your power steering. Then that the steering wheel is stiff neck. It's hard to steer it, especially if the car is not moving. It's like the car wants to go his own way, and you're going to get tired of trying to steer the car the right way. Well, a long time ago, that's where the word comes from, stiff neck. A long time ago, they used to use donkey, like in Balaam's situation with the donkey. The donkey would not turn, and Balaam was hitting the donkey. The donkey was like a stiff neck, like the people of Israel. So, of course, God is dealing with the people there in Haiti who are stiff-necked, just like the Israelites. And guess what? The Israelites, God told them, look, guys, you're going into Canaan. But of course, they rebellious. That's another one of their nature. They said, we're not going in because they have giants there. Well, only 2 of them. There were 12 of them. Only 2 of them. Joshua and Caleb said, we can do it. God said we can do it. Forget about giants. Well, look, we look like grasshopper comparing to the giants. We're not going. So here, they went even as far as saying God is cruel because he's delivering their kids, their little children, to these giants to destroy. But guess what God said? Okay, since you said that, you're all going to fall in the desert. The kids now, I'm going to bring them in with Joshua and Caleb who believe me. So that's why it's not what you see. But Haiti is not going to the dogs. If you are praying, keep praying, because that's exactly what Daniel did in Daniel 9, starting from the 2nd verse. Daniel was reading Jeremiah, and he realized that, wait a minute, God said after 70 years, we're going out of slavery because we messed up pretty bad. And God said, everybody pack your bags, you're going to Babylon. And God and Daniel started praying for his sin, for the sin of the people, and said, let's get ourselves together. Let's turn back to the Lord. And then God sent an angel to Daniel. In fact, this is in the same chapter that you see Daniel 70th week. It's all there. So please, as I mentioned before, I go to Haiti every year on mission trip. And it really painful to see what's going on. It's a result of what was happening in Israel with 3 things. Turning to other gods, being rebellious and stiff-necked, and also injustice. So please continue to pray, because we know God who can and will deliver Haiti. We'll see you next time for the studies of Genesis chapter 24. May God bless you.